this incident that you are talking about occurred initially when you were inside of a courtroom, is that right? Yes. And this person named Mr. Gurley was brought out, is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Isn't it true that basically they were put against the wall, their backs against the wall? Yes. If we can just envision a courtroom, they would be standing against the wall looking straight over to the judge, is that correct? Yes. So if we were in this courtroom, they would probably be over there against the wall looking over to the judge, straight across from the judge? Yes. Right, okay. Now, do you know where the person that you were talking to, where he was seated? No, I do not. At no point did the person, Mr. Gurley, move away from that wall. Did he, except to go back in? To be honest, I don't really recall. I knew we were kind of bunched in a corner because there was 3 people. There was 3 individuals and 3 attorneys, so we were kind of bunched in the corner. I don't know. I don't know if his back was against the wall the whole time. Do you remember if he was the one closest to the audience or the one further away from the audience? I think he was furthest away. This is Mr. Gurley? Yes. Now you said at some point you went outside and you heard a statement. Is that correct? Yes. Do you remember the exact words? The exact words? No. Okay. Wasn't it true that in essence he was telling the people he was talking to about differences that he felt were involved between the person he saw in court and versus the day of the attack? Differences in maybe height or appearance? Yes. And that's what he was talking about. Isn't that true? Yes. And isn't it also true that he said at that time that he is absolutely certain the other 2, referring to the defendants here in court, were the robbers? Yes. He said, I am certain those other 2 are them. Thank you. Nothing further. This courtroom that Mr. Dordulian has been talking about, is that Division 34 or 36? I don't remember. Do you remember if that courtroom that you were in was the same size as this courtroom here, or is it bigger? I believe they are smaller. Smaller, okay. And are you absolutely certain that he said that, referring again to who you thought was Mr. Gurley, that he was not the person that robbed him? Yes. Okay. Nothing further. Mr. Lee. No further questions. What was the statement about height, Mr. Tyler? I am not sure I caught that. He said that guy is much taller than the guy that robbed me. Meaning Gurley is taller than the guy that robbed me? Right. Okay. Anything further? $200 for voice for 5 minutes. Okay, how long after you went to Dr. Cooper's office was it that you had this conversation with him? Approximately 4 to 5 minutes afterwards. Where did this conversation take place? Took place in the hallway outside of Dr. Cooper's office. Who was present at the time this conversation took place? Myself, Mr. Lamb, and Sergeant Evans was. Incidentally, when you first observed the office in the condition that you described in numbers 2 through 9, did you form an impression immediately as to what had occurred? Could you repeat that, please? Yes. When you first went into the office of Mr. Cooper and observed the body and the handgun in the hand, did you form an impression of what had occurred? Yes, I did. What was that? My first impression was that a suicide had occurred. Now, back in the hallway with him, what was the conversation that you had with him? I asked Mr. Lamb to tell me what had happened. Okay. What did he tell you? Objection, Your Honor, lacks unless proper foundation is laid. May I inquire what the foundation is that must accompany? Sorry, Your Honor. How about finding out what, if anything, he said to the defendant before they engaged in conversation, whether in his mind he had any suspicion with regards to Mr. Lamb, or whether or not I have just heard that my impression was that a suicide had occurred. I don't know if he had any other impression. I would like to explore that. Are you satisfied with the foundation as to time and place? Well, I understood him saying what his first impression was, which would lead me to believe, very well, could be a 3rd, 4th, 10th. That's correct. We will see. Sustained on that basis, I take it, because we have not had any objection that time and place and those participants in the conversation have been satisfied. if you would explore that area. All right. Did you, at the time you were talking to him, believe him to be a suspect in a killing of Dr. Cooper? Not initially, no. Okay. During the conversation that you had with Mr. Lamb, did you suspect him to be a perpetrator of a shooting of or the killing of Dr. Cooper? No. What was the conversation that you had with Mr. Lamb in the hallway? I asked him what had happened. Okay. And what did he say? He told me that he had been in the doctor's office at 9:30 that morning, and that he had been with him between 9:30 and 11:30. He told me that Dr. Cooper had showed him a gun and had been pointing the gun at him. Mr. Lamb told me he had Mr. Cooper, and he told me that he gave him the gun, and it was very nerve-wracking, and he asked Dr. Cooper to put the gun back down on the table. Mr. Lamb told me that Dr. Cooper gave him a check for $90. Mr. Lamb said that he left his office at about 11:30, telling Dr. Cooper that he would return later. Mr. Lamb told me that Dr. Cooper told him that he would be cleaning the gun that afternoon. Mr. Lamb told me that he went to a movie with a girlfriend and he returned back to the science building or his office at about 3 o'clock that afternoon. Mr. Lamb told me that he went, upon arriving at Dr. Cooper's office, he found the door closed with the shade down. Mr. Lamb told me that he knocked on the door, and when there was no answer, he put the key in the door, entered the room, and found the doctor. Okay. Now, after you had the conversation with him, did you take him anywhere? Could you repeat that question? Yes. After you had this conversation in the hallway with him, did you go anywhere with him? Yes. Where? I asked him if he could complete a citizen statement to help us with the investigation. All right. What did he say in response to that question? He said he would. Where did you go then? We went from the hallway to the next room, next to the doctor's office. I believe it is 665A is the room number. What took place in that room? Sergeant Evans and myself provided him with a piece of paper, and he and Mr. Lamb began filling out a statement as to what he had just told me. And did you observe him fill out a portion of this paper? Yes, I did. Okay. Your Honor, at this point, I believe he is going to go into that piece of paper. Again, I would like inquiry as to the state of mind and purpose of the officer at that time. We have initial impression. We have him taking the statement. It is reasonable to assume he may have had an impression after the statement. Okay. Now that is contemplating and anticipating the offering of some type of written statement. That's correct. Is that in fact what you are doing, counsel? Yes, Your Honor. If you would lay foundation as you are continuing, yes, Your Honor. I have shown counsel a manila envelope containing 2 pieces of paper with apparently writing on the pieces of paper, and I ask that the entire envelope and its contents be marked number 11 for identification. The People's 11 is the envelope and its contents. Defense has previously been provided with a copy of this statement. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. All right. Explore your foundation. 184 words for 5 minutes. Starts with direct by plaintiff's attorney. Officer, what is your assignment? I am a police officer for the City of Los Angeles, currently assigned to Air Support Division. What was your occupation and assignment on February 15th of this year? Police officer for the City of Los Angeles, assigned to Narcotic Group Central Bureau. On that day at about, well, let me back up a little. Do you have any training and expertise in narcotics? Yes, I do. First of all, how long have you been a police officer? A couple months shy of 8 years. As of February 15, that would be about 6 months ago, about 7 years and 8 months or so. It would be about a little less than 7.5 years. And prior to that time, how long had you been working in narcotics? Off and on. That was only, I think it was a 1 or 2 month loan at that time. I have worked prior to this. I worked narcotics about a year before then at Central Division. I worked Valley Bureau Narcotics about a year and a half prior to that, and then I worked South Bureau Narcotics, gang related, about a year and a half, 2 years before that. And for how long? Was that for a year or so, you said? The South Bureau one was for like 8 months. Valley Bureau was, I think, a 6-month loan. And so you have been working in narcotics as of February 15, about a little over 2 years throughout your 8 years police, 7.5-year police career. Referring to being assigned to narcotics, yes. How much time of that police career have you been working in the Central Division? I have worked there a little over about 2 years or so. And how familiar did you get with the area, particularly the area of Fifth and San Juan in the city and county of Los Angeles? How familiar did you get with that area as a result of your 2 years in Central Division? Objection, relevance, overruled. It's basically where I was specifically assigned, 5th Street area, Skid Row area, which that is part of it. And describe your familiarity with the area. I have worked there on a daily basis, making narcotics arrests. Because of numerous citizen complaints, counsel, I get complaints from the missions, the hotels there, people that live in the hotels, from the station captain. What are the nature of these complaints, specifically narcotics sales and narcotics usage? Is this the area that you call, that is often called Skid Row? Yes, sir. And when you say narcotics usage and narcotics sales, after you get such complaints, what do you then, as a police officer, do once you have received the complaints? We use objection, vague, sustained. About how frequently would you receive these complaints, either through the department or from citizens directly? Objection, relevance, overruled. At least 1 or 2 a week. Usually the complaints are the citizen complaints. They will be informal. Somebody will just tell me, we're having a lot of dope activity, indicating on this corner coming from this hotel, or I will get it through my senior lead officer or supervisor. And on February 15, let me back up a couple of questions. About how many arrests have you made during your career in the Skid Row area of Los Angeles for possession or sale of contraband? Objection, relevance, overruled. I would say specifically illegal drugs, contraband, in and around that area, over 200. And have you had training and experience in the recognition of controlled substances, particularly rock cocaine? Yes, sir. Please describe your training and experience in that area. I received 8-hour blocks of training at the Los Angeles Police Academy. I have attended the LAPD 40-hour course. I attended an 80 drug recognition expert course. I have been a member of California Narcotics Officers Association, which is a statewide organization, for over 5 years, almost 6. I have seen anywhere from kilos of cocaine, like I said, down to run-of-the-street dealer quantities of cocaine. About how many times in your career would you say you have seen cocaine base? Maybe 1,000 times. Based on your training and experience, what, if anything, does the term rock cocaine mean to you? It's basically a street name. It's what the technical term is, cocaine base. Basically, it's the hard, almost rock-like substance. That's when you convert powder cocaine to cocaine base. And on the street, how are all the quantities of cocaine base packaged? What are some of the ways? Some of the ways can be, you can have some individually packaged, one small little solid of cocaine in a plastic heat seal. They will secrete it in their mouth, so it's easily swallowed and passed through the body, or regurgitate it up. It depends on where you are at. Downtown police calls are where the Cuban corner, 5th and San Pedro population hangs out. And they will package it in brown paper bindles. At approximately 3:09 in the afternoon, did you have occasion to receive a call, as in your job as a dispatcher for the state police at the California State Fullerton? Yes. Was that call tape recorded? Yes. I have, Your Honor, a copy of a tape recording I have shown counsel. I ask it be marked Peoples 1 for identification. It will be so marked. For the record, we have been supplied a copy of that tape, Your Honor. Thank you. I might state for the record, the tape cassette is in a tape carriage. May I approach the witness? Certainly. I invite your attention to number 1 for identification. Do you recognize that cassette tape? Yes. Sir, let me interrupt. My last interruption, I hope. Keep your voice up. See the gentleman back here in the vest wearing glasses with the mustache? And way back in the corner? Yeah. I would like you to answer every question as if you want him to hear it. Now, the defendant and the people are entitled to a public open hearing. Bounce your voice off the wall and get it to him, and we know that everyone else will hear, all right? Don't talk into your mustache or keep your voice down. We really want you to be heard. Okay, please proceed. Do you recognize this tape recording? Yes. Have you listened to this? Yes, I have. Is this an accurate representation of the call you received? May I have a couple minutes? We have been in session now for what should have been an hour, but something less than that, and it seems as if it might be wise to take a 5-minute recess now. We will be back in session at 5 minutes to 2. We are in recess. In the case of people of the state of California versus Van Lam, North Felony 8400632, the record will reflect we are back in session. Both prosecutor, defense counsel, and defendant himself are present, and Mr. Gonzalez is still under oath and in the witness box. Madam Interpreter will... Do you feel all right now? Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Can we proceed? Yes. Ask your next question. Thank you, Your Honor. This tape comprises the telephone call that you received? Yes. And there is a voice on the tape identifying the tape. Was that your voice? No, it wasn't. All right. Your Honor, for purposes of preliminary hearing, we will stipulate to the foundation of this tape so he can proceed. Do you accept the stipulation, sir? Yes. All right. Please proceed with that stipulation. With that in mind, I have a tape recorder here. Would the court allow me to set it up so the court can hear this? Yes. Feel free to go whenever you need to go in this courtroom without asking any further. It would be easier to hear up here. Sure. This has been punched out so it cannot be erased? Yes. The voice of the person in the phone call was yourself? Yes, it was. Did you then have someone dispatched to the 6th floor of the science building at Cal State Fullerton right after I let my watch commander listen to the conversation? Okay. No further questions. Any cross-examination of this witness? No questions, Your Honor. Everyone has completed the examination of Mr. Gonzalez. That is correct. Sir, step down very carefully. Call your next witness. May he be excused? Yes, he certainly may. Call Officer Lapp. Step to the end of the table, sir. Raise your right hand to be sworn. You do solemnly swear the testimony you will give and the cause now pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God? I do. State your full name, please. Harvey Arnold Lapp. Please spell your last name for the record. L-A-P-P. Thank you. You may take the stand. Good afternoon, Officer Lapp. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Keep your voice up so that it is bouncing off the back wall, and you are talking to the man in the corner over there. If he can hear you, then everybody else can. In both sides, the prosecution and defense, they are entitled to an open and public hearing. Do you understand that? Yes, Your Honor. Listen to the questions carefully. Pause before you answer to compose your answer and make it as brief as possible. Yes or no are really neat answers. If you need to say more, please say whatever is necessary to answer the questions, but keep it brief. If either of the attorneys want to know more, let them ask more questions. It might be that the answer you give is enough. They don't want to hear anymore. Understand? Yes, Your Honor. Don't volunteer any answers. If you hear the word objection, don't answer at all until I have made a ruling on the objection. If there is something you are asked that you don't know the answer to, please say, I don't know. A lot of people try to be helpful and sort of guess at what the answer is or should be. We are not doing that here. We are as interested in what you don't know as what you know. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Use the microphone. Speak into it. Speak up. Please proceed, counsel. Thank you. Question by plaintiff's attorney. On October 13th, 1984, at approximately 3 or sometime thereafter in the afternoon, what was your business or occupation? I am a student assistant dispatcher for the police of Cal State Fullerton. At approximately 3:09 in the afternoon, did you have occasion to receive a call as in your job as a dispatcher for the state police at the California State Fullerton? Yes. Was that call tape recorded? Yes. I have, Your Honor, a copy of a tape recording I have shown counsel. I ask it be marked Peoples 1 for identification. It will be so marked. For the record, we have been supplied a copy of that tape, Your Honor. Thank you. I might state for the record the tape cassette is in a tape carriage. May I approach the witness? Certainly. I invite your attention to number 1 for identification. Do you recognize that cassette tape? Yes. Sir, let me interrupt. My last interruption, I hope. And keep your voice up. See the gentleman back there in the vest wearing glasses with the mustache? Way back in the corner? Yeah. I would like you to answer every question as if you want him to hear it. The defendant and the people are entitled to a public open hearing. Bounce your voice off the wall and get it to him, and we know that everyone else will hear. All right, don't talk into your mustache or keep your voice down. We really want you to be heard. Okay. Please proceed. Do you recognize this tape recording? Yes. Have you listened to this? Yes, I have. Is this an accurate representation of the call you received? May we have a couple minutes? We have been in session now for what should have been an hour, but something less than that. And it seems as if it might be wise to take a 5-minute recess now. We will be back in session at 5 minutes to 2. We are in recess in the case of the people of the state of California versus Van Lam. North Felony 8400632. The record will reflect we are back in session. Both prosecutor, defense counsel, and defendant himself are present, and Mr. Gonzalez is still under oath and in the witness box. Madam Interpreter, do you feel all right now? Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Can we proceed? Yes. Ask your next question. Thank you, Your Honor. This tape comprises the telephone call that you received? Yes. And there is a voice on the tape identifying the tape. Was that your voice? No, it wasn't. All right. Your Honor, for purposes of preliminary hearing, we will stipulate to the foundation of this tape so he can proceed. Do you accept the stipulation, sir? Yes. All right. Please proceed with that stipulation. With that in mind, I have a tape recorder here. Would the court allow me to set it up so the court can hear this? Yes. Feel free to go wherever you need to go in this courtroom. Without asking anything further, it would be easier to hear up here. Sure. This has been punched out so it cannot be erased? Yes. The voice of the person in the phone call was yourself? Yes, it was. Did you then have someone dispatched to the 6th floor of the science building at Cal State Fullerton right after I let my watch commander listen to the conversation? Okay. No further questions? Any cross-examination of this witness? No questions, Your Honor. Everyone has completed the examination of Mr. Gonzalez. That is correct. Sir, step down carefully. Call your next witness. May he be excused? Yes, he certainly may. Call Officer Lapp. Step to the end of the table, sir. Raise your right hand to be sworn. You do solemnly swear the testimony you will give in the cause now pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. State your full name, please. Harvey Arnold Lapp. Please spell your last name for the record. L-A-P-P. Thank you. You may take the stand. Good afternoon, Officer Lapp. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Keep your voice up so that it is bouncing off the back wall and you are talking to the man in the corner over there. If he can hear you, then everybody else can. In both sides, the prosecution and defense, they are entitled to an open and public hearing. Do you understand that? Yes, Your Honor. Listen to the questions carefully. Pause before you answer to compose your answer and make it as brief as possible. Yes or no are really neat answers. If you need to say more, please say whatever is necessary to answer the questions, but keep it brief. If either of the attorneys want to know more, let them ask more questions. It might be that the answer you give is enough. They don't want to hear any more. Understand? Yes, Your Honor. Don't volunteer any answers. If you hear the word objection, don't answer at all until I have made a ruling on the objection. If there is something you are asked that you don't know the answer to, please say, I don't know. A lot of people try to be helpful and sort of guess at what the answer is or should be. We are not doing that here. We are as interested in what you don't know as what you know. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Use the microphone, speak into it, speak up. Please proceed, counsel. Thank you. What is your business or occupation, sir? I am a police officer. For what agency? Cal State University, Fullerton Police Department. On October 13, 1984, were you so employed? Yes, I was. At approximately somewhere around 3:05 in the afternoon or shortly thereafter, did you have occasion to go to the 6th floor of a science building on the Cal State University Fullerton campus? I'd have to refer to my report on the exact date, but if it is the Saturday we are referring to, yes. Is this the report that you prepared at or about the time of the incident? Yes, it is. Is that something that you have with you? Yes, it is. Please refer to it. Was it October 13th? Yes, it was. And the science building, Cal State Fullerton, is this in Orange County? Yes, it is. Now, when you went up to the 6th floor, what did you first see? I entered the building. The first thing I saw was the stairwell when I entered the building. When did you go up the stairwell? Yes, I did. Did you go up to the 6th floor? Yes. When you got to the 6th floor, did you see anybody who is now present in the courtroom? Yes, I did. Who is that? Mr. Lamb. May the record reflect he has identified the defendant, Min Van Lam. Stipulation? Stipulate. Do you accept the stipulation? Yes, Your Honor. There is a stipulation between counsel offered by defense counsel and accepted by the prosecution that he has identified the defendant in this matter. Please proceed. Thank you, Your Honor. Where was Mr. Lamb when you first saw him? He was sitting next to or leaning up against the wall on the north side of the building near a classroom. How was he dressed? To the best of my recollection, he was wearing blue jeans, a white t-shirt. Anything on his feet? He had a pair of thongs on, to my recollection. What took place as you observed Mr. Lamb? I started down the hallway towards him and he came running towards me. And what conversation took place, if any? Mr. Lamb stated to me words to the effect, something terrible has happened. Mr. Cooper, I think he is dead. Okay. What then happened? The next thing that happened was I pulled out my radio and notified our dispatcher that we needed a paramedic dispatched to the 6th floor, Dr. Cooper's office. Did you go to his office? Yes, I did. Did you go with anyone? Yes. Who? I went with Mr. Lamb, and Sergeant Evans was a few feet behind me. When you got to Dr. Cooper's office, did you look inside? Yes, I did. Had you been to his office previously? Yes. That is part of your duties as an officer with Cal State Fullerton? Yes, it is. Your Honor, I have several photographs that I asked be marked for identification in sequence. Would it save time with the court if I put a number on the back of them to refer to the identification number? The upper right-hand corner of the back, if you would put the number that you are going to use as you present it,